Um, Today I'll be talking about India's growing challenge of agriculture waste management. So India is the world's second largest producer of agricultural commodities, which generates over 500 million tons of agriculture waste annually. And unfortunately, a large portion of this waste is either burned, like we see stubble burning in the Haryana, Delhi, Punjab, and Western Uttar Pradesh, which leads to air pollution, or the waste is left to decompose, which causes environmental degradation and economic losses. So, despite contributing around 18% to India's GDP and employing over 42% of the workforce, the agriculture sector had struggled to manage this waste effectively, making it an economic and environmental issue. So let's define the problem first. So agriculture waste, which includes crop residual, stubble, and organic byproducts, is generated in huge quantities due to increasing mechanization and modern farming techniques. We talked about stubble burning, which contributes to around 40% of Delhi's winter pollution. Then there is unmanaged biogas, which leads to releasing methane, which is a greenhouse gas which contributes to the climate change. And there is this economic potential of converting waste into useful byproducts such as biochar, compost, and biogas. It remains largely untapped due to the lack of proper waste management infrastructure. So, without effective waste management systems, the environmental consequences and the economic losses are likely to intensify. So let's talk about what we can do about this particular problem and the timeline through which we can address this severe challenge. So this challenge requires a multi-year strategy involving technological innovation, policy intervention, and collaboration among different stakeholders. So here is proposed 3-year timeline to implement effective solutions. First year is about awareness and the capacity building. The first and the foremost way to address this challenge is to create awareness about this problem. We have to educate farmers on sustainable waste management practices. We have to provide them financial incentives for adopting techniques like happy seeders and Pusa biodecomposers, which prevents stubble burning. So year two would be about infrastructure development. So once the awareness and the capacity building is done, we can move towards building long-term infrastructure for this particular problem, where we can set up multiple decentralized biogas plants, then biochar facilities, and composting units, so that we can convert agriculture waste into renewable energy and organic fertilizers. We can promote partnerships between government, private players, academia, and startups to create robust supply chain linkages. Mm. Then third year would be policy reinforcement and monitoring. This challenge would would go unaddressed if we do not include policymakers into this. So we have to introduce stricter penalties for stubble burning, and we have to ensure consistent enforcement for the same. To strengthen these financial initiatives under schemes like PM Kusum and National Bioenergy Mission, we can encourage the adoption of sustainable practices. But there are few barriers to implement this particular 3-year scheme, where first is the lack of farmer awareness. So many farmers are unaware of the sustainable alternatives and their potential economic benefits. Second would be financial constraint. A high initial investment is needed for setting up the plants for happy seeders or bioprocessing units, and composting system deters this adaptation. There are policy gaps where change in the policymakers' attitude, or policy paralysis is what we call it. Inconsistent policy implementation and weak monitoring mechanisms would slow down the progress of existing initiatives. But India has experimented this several models of waste management earlier. Like there was National Biogas and Manure Management Program, Then there was Pusa biodecomposer. But the large scale adoption remains a huge challenge due to the limited awareness and logistical issues. So, in conclusion, the tackling agriculture waste management can significantly reduce pollution and generate additional income for farmers, and it promotes sustainable farming practices as well. So, by implementing a phased approach and addressing critical barriers, India can turn this challenge into an economic opportunity. Thank you for watching.